All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to round 14. So this is the final review of the regular season. Kind of cool. We made it. All right. So just take a second and check in with yourself. Today is the Frozen check-in. I don't know if we've done this one before. It seems like one I would be drawn to. So you can drop it in the chat if you're comfy. Okay, Miles, you're gonna have to tell me what 6 means to you because one of my daughters was asking earlier. Oh, Tim's a 6 too.
They feel magical.
That's what I said, magical. We got a lot of ones. Uh-oh, Olivia's at 8, so we'll have to be careful. All right. Well, awesome. I hope everybody's showing up ready to go because we're done. It's amazing. We made it through the season, 14 whole weeks. So I would just like to give a shout out to everybody. Thank you all to the team for showing up and getting this job done and really, I think, helping the WPL be a better product. So good work to all of you. And then we got a shout out for Dan because he always asks good questions. He's got the growth mindset, and that's something we can all work on. And he accepts feedback very positively. So thank you to Dan. Not sure. Dan, did you make it on yet?
Yeah, I saw him on there.
Okay, good. Marty's going to be late today. He was at work, and Wendy's not going to make it, just so everybody knows.
I see Marty.
Oh, really? Oh, good.
I'm here. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't
You're
sure
still
about 20
working.
minutes
Gotcha.
ago. Yeah,
I
thank you.
see. Go back to work. Okay, so here's how the weekend ended up. All Blues 38-17 over Beantown, New York 41-0 over the Zons, and Life West 55-10 over North Shore. Which puts our finals one in Berkeley, which we already knew, but Berkeley will play Beantown, and then
Beantown gets to go back out to the West Coast.
yeah, right. They get 1 week off and they have to truck back out. It's got to be such an expense for them. And then
It's
they shouldn't have lost a couple of games.
yeah, I know.
They said it was $1,000 per player to come back.
I figured it was going to be at a minimum 800, and I figured some of them maybe as much as 12. So yeah, I'm not surprised at all. Grey Wolves will host New York. So, and let's go ahead and get to it. Somewhere I have Advantage hanging out. There she is. Dan, did you want to lead us off today?
Yes.
I'm going to turn my camera off just so the video quality is a little better. Go for it.
Great. So had Life West at North Shore. It was a beautiful day for rugby. So sunny with a light breeze. Teams kind of came out of the gate strong. I thought North Shore lost a little bit of steam after the first 15, 20 minutes. Scrums were a point of contest, but Life West had the dominant scrum overall. And that became evident as the game went on. Life West played a lot of that kind of broken back ball, so lots of offloads. North Shore had probably 15 minutes in the second half, close to the end of the match, where they were knocking at the door, trying to put down some more points. Life West had solid defense, and they weren't able to make it happen. Didn't have, I think, any noteworthy trends in terms of penalties on the day. Had a number of lineouts, with Life West doing some early lifting that was never quite material. Let's see. Peter, are there other things you would highlight about the match at large?
No, I mean, we had some good learning opportunities in setting up scrums.
Mhm.
Both teams were remarkably well behaved at tackles. Yeah, those tackle penalty numbers are not because Dan was ignoring infringements.
Okay. Yeah,
that
it's
was-
it's interesting.
Yeah, no, it's a very low number because they were good. And then,
Maybe
side
Chicago
entry
wasn't
when things
competing.
got chaotic.
Yeah. Cool.
And then the last thing I'll maybe note was one of my work-ons going into the match was communication. I talked with Peter about it before the match, and then I had another touch point with another coach maybe an hour beforehand. I got to the field a couple hours early, and they recommended to me, as there was a game going on before me. They said, hey, while you're doing your warm up and getting ready, watch that game and practice what you would say, and by implication, what you would not say at every time the whistle's blown. So that was an opportunity for deliberate practice. That was like right, within 90 minutes of kickoff. That felt very helpful and effective, and was able to chat less than normal. And still an area where I want to continue working.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned it to you, and I will tell the rest of the group too. I don't think I've ever seen a referee do such a turnabout. But Dan went from majorly over communicating to what I would consider probably gold standard of communication. Really minimal. So that's really cool to see.
Yeah, agree. That was a definite change, and I think it was effective.
Did you
So-
feel like it gave you more space in your brain to think about things, or was it still hard to not talk?
I think it was still hard to not talk. I also low key asked the ARs to remind me every 10 minutes to not talk. And that was a polite reframe, because what I asked them to say originally involved a couple of swear words. So they were kind of gracious about that.
Good idea. Nice use of ARs.
Yeah. And I think there were some moments in the second half when I was not talking, there felt like more space. And I'll try to keep an open mind about that going forward too.
Yeah, you'll get there.
Thanks. So
Which
we start
one
with the first clip, Frankfeld number 1, obstruction. I don't think this clip is too particularly like special or unique, but just to note that I had a chat with the Life West coach after the match. One of the things that we discussed was the standard for obstruction, whether that's like something that prevents a possible tackle, a probable tackle, a defender making a play on the ball carrier, if it should be something else. And in discussion with Peter, we thought that might be a good chat for the group. And if we're all united, that's great. And if it's not, then it might be worth talking about.
Are you all hearing the audio?
No.
No.
One day I will share, and I'll click all the right buttons. It's just not today.
No,
Right.
that's
obstruction.
Okay. So, Dan, what's the discussion point and how do we want people to contribute?
I think we could say, do we feel that that was obstruction or not? We could, I think there were in the description above, there were like 3 or 4 options about what the standard should be for obstruction. We could waterfall that or just open the floor, or I think, Peter, when we had our chat, you talked a little bit about the difference between obstruction and unfair play when the
Yeah,
ball carrier.
that's a silly law thing that really it complicates the issue. Just go with talking about obstruction.
Okay. So maybe we can waterfall these. Obstruction, we can just put 1, 2, or 3 for prevents a probable tackle, prevents the defender from making a play on the ball carrier, or prevents a possible tackle. I guess.
Where are we on the field? This is Tim. Are we in the middle of the field? Are we on the 22?
That's the middle of the field, I think. But the question really isn't related to this particular one as much as the
Hypothetical.
concept.
Got it.
Okay. So in theory, if you're going to call obstruction, is it because it prevented a probable tackle, because it prevented the defender from making a play on the ball carrier, or because it prevents a possible tackle? I guess drop it in the chat on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we got a lot of 1s and 2s. Peter, you're showing up with a 3.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't think you can say that person wouldn't have made a tackle when you're considering obstruction. Because the presence or lack of or non-presence of a defender can often open up gaps that the runner will then choose to go into.
Okay. It's an interesting way of looking at it.
In this one, I'm not so sure if it really needed to be called because somebody was going to make a tackle with the ball carrier pretty much even with where everything happened.
Right.
Even if the one defender was prevented from accessing the ball carrier, there was another defender there to make the play.
Yeah, that's how I see it too. There may have been obstruction, but because the tackle was made in pretty much the same spot that it would have been made anyway, you wouldn't call it. It becomes immaterial. Anybody have other thoughts on this?
You might call it differently. I mean, as Tim was hinting at, if you're 5 meters out from the goal line, you might call it very differently.
Because
a meter makes a difference when you get close.
okay.
Yeah, and that makes it material, right? Super. In this case, I agree with you though.
And a little bit of the other way around, if it's on their own 22 and there's obstruction and there's not like a possible big play happening, I'm going to be a little more lenient and kind of just let them play through it.
Yeah. Well, and there's also obstruction that just opens the gap, right? Which really may not have anything to do with someone being prevented from making a tackle. So, anything else to say on that? What do we have at this scrum?
I think Peter does a better job with teeing up scrum clips than me, so I'll invite him to talk through. And if you think it's better for me to do it, I'll take a swing.
No, that's all right. Yeah, as you can see, this is attacking scrum, maybe 10 or 15 meters out. And when you play it, watch the blue tight head. The problem's going to be on this side.
Where Dan couldn't see it from where he's standing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Fine. Set.
Yep, stop. Oh, sorry. Hey, man, if you go back just a little bit more between the
Before
know,
this set.
when you get bind, and then I'm seeing the tight head shifting her aim point in a little bit.
Set.
You know, and because she's aiming inward, and that's why the green loose head slides off and gets penalized.
Gotcha. It's tough for me to see, but I do see the angle here. And green still appears to be pretty straight.
Yeah.
And then you think that's what causes the collapse.
That, well, I mean, I think that's at least as much at fault as the loose head's, you know, not inability to keep herself straight there, but or keep herself on the tight head.
And then did you make a decision here, Dan, or did you reset?
I penalized green. Or sorry, it looks like we played advantage.
You played advantage to blue, and then then came back for the penalty.
Yeah, which makes sense, right? Because blue drives over green. It's just, did they do it? Is the dominance legal? And the answer is probably not.
And that's
She's in. Yeah, she goes in. That causes green to lose her.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something that, you know, my real point is that I think that even from where Dan is standing, that's possible to see in the, you know, in the bind to set time period, in which case you can restart or even reset. Manage that player at least once, so you got to stay straight.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. How about this one? Oh, wait, that's not the one I'm supposed to do, is it?
Yeah, it is. Oh, no, that's right. Yeah, I don't know why.
I put in the wrong one of. There's two number 3s, and the one that says use me is correct.
Gotcha. I can delete the other one.
Thanks.
So do we need an intro here, or we just watch the scrum?
Same point. Just
Okay.
Let's take a set.
Fine. Set.
Aren't they starting at an angle?
They both look at an angle from the start to me.
Yeah,
Green
that was my comment. They both look bad.
Yeah,
This
they
is
go
a
like
this is
this. Start.
Green looks just as guilty here.
Yeah.
they're both guilty.
Strike.
the real clue is there's a big gap between the tight head's hips and the hooker's hips.
For blue.
No, green.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't like the way green's set up right now. I
Yeah,
can't really
I mean,
see. blue.
she's, that whole, it's heading in.
Yeah.
And as soon as that comes together, that's a problem waiting to happen.
But now, I mean, blue's at an angle too, really.
Yeah, because
Maybe
blue,
she has to be.
the tight head, or the loose head in that situation kind of has to follow the tight head in if, unless the loose head wants to fall off the side and collapse the way it happened in the first scrum.
Yeah, and she's got nothing but ribs there too. So you're advocating for stopping this from the beginning and just getting them set up.
Yeah.
square.
This is the setup, yeah.
This is something to look for, to make sure it's on your checklist for the setup.
Perfect. All right. Dan, that's you done, unless you have anything else.
No, I mean, yeah, I'll say I'm like a little sad that, season's wrapping up and all that kind of stuff. Looking forward to next week's meeting. I've got to drop a little bit early, so I'm gonna
Okay.
go off video and hang out for as long as I can, and I'll catch the rest on the recording.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate you. Thank you, Peter. Tim Lu, are you good to go next? And Olivia?
Sure.
It's another game with a really low tackle penalty count.
Is
Yes.
Olivia better from her 8? Has she changed her? Hopefully, there's a little time at the start.
What?
See, no, she's still 8.
So fun game this weekend. Weather was good, so the conditions were great. But I knew going into this was going to be a game that had a lot of there was a lot of importance on it in terms of the seedings, and so I knew the teams were going to kind of be ready for it. So I went with that mindset. I was able to pick my ARs, so I picked some ARs that were going to be able to give me some good feedback. And actually, in the game, there was opportunities where I was really able to use them. But yeah, the game was pretty clean at the start. There was an opportunity, I think, at the start. Well, and that's going to be a question: is a few penalties in a row, and could I have changed things there? But the big question to me was the game was flowing 6 PKs all the way to 60 minutes, and then you get a lot of players changing. You get a front row change. You get a true aggressive 7 come on the field, and there's just more competition at the breakdown. And mentally, I was kind of already in my groove, and that's going to be something I'll kind of talk about is 60th minute, you feel like you've set the standard, you're in the groove, but then the players change and kind of the situation changes. So I'll let Olivia add anything else.
The only thing I would add, Tim, is to, we put some notes kind of in the, not so much in the pattern of the game, but food for thought in terms of Tom's, or there's a great sniper that's really funny. Sorry. Tim had to borrow boots. That was and you know what? I think that's something good to bring up, Tim. Like, he had to borrow boots from somebody and he just rolled with it. Like, you didn't see it phase his game other than a random trip here and there.
The other thing I found really interesting about this game is there's no foul play.
Oh, sorry, I just missed that.
Oh, there's no foul play in this game.
It was very, very little. I think there was an opportunity maybe for, multiple penalties, or an opportunity, like I said, in the 65th, 70th minute, player comes on and they kind of infringe. I think I could have maybe given a team yellow card, but very little foul play, so to speak.
Yeah, for as heated as this match was, it surprised me. No dangerous tackles.
And the game was, the score was relatively close to halftime. It wasn't like a team had kind of taken it away. So it was a fun game. It was a really good game. I enjoyed it. So this first one here, I would love to just play it through and then hear, what people's maybe waterfall right as it happens, and get people's input on, what they thought, and then also too maybe somebody's input on like what their process would be. So we'll just go ahead and play it. It's a cross kick here, and we'll see what happens.
Oh, you took out your AR conversation.
No, it's in there if you want to play it, but yeah, there is a conversation.
Okay, we'll watch it one more time and then we will waterfall it. I'll slow it down.
Call a goal line dropout here, or
Yep.
Okay, well, if we say all the answers, then we can't have a waterfall.
Yeah, Bob.
Miles started it.
I couldn't help myself.
Um,
Sorry.
do you want to tell us what happened?
So as you can see, it was a cross kick. So I was like, out of position. I went in my head, 51%. My call, if I didn't have ARs, my call would have been goal line dropout. But I went into this knowing I had an AR, and you can see he's in good position. And
Yep.
so, my process was, I'm 51% sure that this was a goal line dropout, but if my AR has any information that's different, I'm going to go with that because he's much closer.
So
And,
what question did you ask him?
I went in and I gave myself a second. I said, "Whoa, that was close, Bruno." I took a breath and I said, "I saw the blue player take it in for a goal line dropout. Did you see anything different?" And he said, "Yes." And I think I said, "Do you think the player was outside of the field of play and brought it in?" And he said, "Yes." So I think that's what I said.
Okay.
The outcome here was I went with my AR, who was a lot closer. And so I called a 5-meter scrum to beat.
We'll give him the benefit of the doubt that maybe the camera angle skews our opinion, but it looks like
Our
it was
perception.
it looks like it was kicked in goal and touchdown. So
So this next one, this is off of, there was a 5-meter scrum that I gave. And so you have attacking platform for Beantown. And, Beantown has 2 or 3, runs at the goal line. And so if we can play it through here, it's going to be about 45 seconds. But you can see there's multiple penalties. And I guess I'm curious on what people think. And I guess I'll say it at the end what I did and what Olivia suggested, and just kind of food for thought for me.
No hands, 8! Let it come, let it come, 8! Let it go, let it go! Penalty advantage, hands in. Ready? Penalty advantage, offside.
Down the line! Ready!
Still under advantage.
Please! Please!
Marcus here. We had offsides. You going quick up?
Get low, Oliver! Thunder!
Use that ball. Use that ball now. Back foot! Back foot! We have offside penalty advantage.
So as you can see, there's 3 kind of, PKs in a row. Anybody see anything that I
You
could have
had
done
three
differently?
there? Did you have 1, 2, like penalty advantage? Then you had a new advantage, so the other one's gained out of then and played, and then you had a third one,
Yep,
and it was all at the 5 meter.
correct.
Did you card anybody?
That's
I'm sorry, I'm on a roll. But
so that's the
I'm just
question.
curious because
Inevitably,
you got two, like you got the one I understand, and then you had the second one, right? And then right again. Oh yeah, it's especially with
and
where
that's yeah, and that's the question is and you know on review I think I should have, but in the game it's you have PK PK PK, and then it's 10 minutes in and I gave a very formal warning, but I guess the question is it hard to give a card without a warning? And I think the answer is yes. I think I missed an opportunity there. I think I should have just given a card without a warning, but I
Tim?
can.
So could you give a card for someone doing a dump tackle without a warning? Sure can, right? And in a case that has a material, not, I don't know, I'm just, if something has a material effect on the game, especially here, is this not like either a statement area or something that's, we're not talking one time, 1, 2, 3, right? That's just a food for thought.
Tim, the way I recall that you had advantage for hands in, and then then you were also playing advantage for offside, and then you ended up given the penalty. Did you think about doing a warning after those first two?
If you can hear me say, "Are you going to quick tap?" and she says yes, and you could see the team kind of wanting to go. So maybe that's an opportunity where I say, no, we're not going to quick tap here. I'm going to talk to them.
Yeah, they're already aligned. The defense is already aligned when Beantown plays the ball, because one of the Berkeley players took the ball back and put it down on the goal line rather than just giving it up wherever she was.
So let's draw that thought out a little bit more, right? Does everybody understand what Peter's saying, why it would be okay, and why Tim didn't want to talk there? Everybody understands that whole thing? Because that's key. Because we don't want to stop and have a chat when the defense is misaligned and Red had an opportunity to score there. Okay.
Yeah, but there was so much time before they got a chance to tap that the defense was aligned.
Right.
There's also the point that Miles brought up. There was a PK here and a PK here, and I didn't give him the option. And I probably should have given a PK.
That was going to be the next question is, were they happy there, or would they have preferred it read between the posts?
Yeah. Yep. So definitely a few points here. Good things that I just a little more conscious about. And
yeah, Tim, I think it was fine, letting them quick tap, but just like you say, missed opportunity that third PK and within 5 meters is a card.
Yeah, that's cynical. That you don't need to warn for cynical play. You don't say repeated, just say that one was cynical.
Andrew?
Yeah, did anyone else notice the Berkeley prop deliberately slowing that quick tap down?
Yeah.
So like Tim, like when you call the penalty, and this might just be like such a dumb question, but like what's the first thing you're looking at? Right?
yeah,
Like
so she purposely slowed it down so they could have that. So yeah, I mean that's something because I went to the mark.
Exactly. Like for me, and maybe this like that's where you do like that's an easy yellow card right there. Like find the ball first. She's clearly walking away with it to give her team time to set up. Time off. Hold on. You're deliberately slowing the ball. They wanted a quick tap. That's a yellow card. You now have the option of your mark, because that then like gives them the option of like, do they want to be closer to there to kick for touch? The line's already set up. Do they want to run a different set move farther in field?
Well, good point, Andrew.
Yeah, 100%.
Good clip. It's interesting your penalty count ended up so low with this happening at 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, this was like, this happens. I'm like, oh man, what's going to happen here? And then after that, I gave a pretty harsh warning to them. Beantown ended up getting points. And then the game was relatively clean and clear after that. So, okay, so now fast forward, now we're, almost, in the third quarter, and Life West, the All Blues bring on, a number of different players, front rows, and a 7. And so the breakdown and all the dynamic just changes. And so this was actually a conversation we had in the RDG NDG call last night. It's like, you have your first quarter of the game, and then you have your second quarter, and then you get in your third quarter and you feel like you're kind of set, and we shouldn't be making penalties that are kind of, out of the blue. We should have set a standard in those first 3 parts of the game, and the fourth quarter should be, the players should understand by there. But then, this game really showed me it changes a lot. Front rows have to reset, or scrums do, and you have different players that are just not calibrated to your standard. And so this was more of a general question, like Dan's first one is, how do you think about that? How do you remind yourself about that instead of getting set and just like, I set the standard, it should be good now. And in this case, I kind of let it go. And you see there's like 3 or 4 penalties in a row. I could have, if I was maybe more thoughtful or present or there about it, I could have carded early and prevented some of those penalties, those penalties at the end. So.
All right, we're going to watch this clip, and then let's make sure we're giving referees space to answer this time. I don't know why we're not hearing the audio on this.
The audio at this point, my audio was gone.
Ah, okay.
Penalties here. Yeah, I clipped this wrong. Well, yeah, maybe I clipped this wrong. The penalty I might have missed, but it's the general thought process here of, you had a game that's kind of humming and rolling, and then you get players that come on, and I didn't calibrate correctly. And also to Olivia, I know this was a big point that Olivia brought up, so I'd love to hear her thoughts too, and maybe she can set it up a little better than I did. So.
Olivia?
Yeah, I mean, it was just, I guess as we go along, like, what is our escalation procedure? How are we communicating? And how are we getting what we want out of the players? And I think that was a big thing about the patterns in the game generally. Like, I spent more time asking, I think, questions of Tim than I did. If that makes sense.
Okay. And then do any of the referees have ideas as far as, Tim's broader question, which was when we have substitute players come onto the pitch, how do we maintain expectations or reset? Anybody?
Yeah, hey, this is Marty. I think the answer to that question is when we set expectations, it's for the team, not for individual players. So we need to hold the teams accountable for those standards that we set. And I know it's much easier said than done, but that's my thought there.
Tim, when you had those 3 PKs in a row, did you have a general chat with the team, or how did it go?
Yeah, I had a conversation, and what I realized is the person I was having a conversation was like, you know, the players that had come on that were now contesting the breakdown a lot, because there was basically not a contest before. I mean, it was kind of set, and Beantown or the All Blues weren't, and then you get these players that have a new standard, or they have, you know, energy to come in. So, but it's definitely helps me think about future games, and you know, kind of how I think, and especially when I see substitutes come on, you know, what should be triggered in my head to kind of think about and do, and helping myself reset.
Right.
Okay. And I think where I was trying to go is, if you think about trends in the game and what you saw early in the game and what happens later, like if we had just nailed it early with a card when it was an opportunity for it, would it change the trends in the game? Or like there was 2 unplayables, the way Tim communicated those unplayables, he had observed a penalty infraction. So if he had, instead of them playable early in the game, given the penalty, like how are we shaping player behavior? And it's a really good exercise to go to the end of your game and say, all right, this trend occurred throughout. Where was maybe the second time I observed it in the game? If I had made a different choice or communication at that point earlier in the game, could it have shaped player behavior throughout the game differently? And I think that's just a good exercise to do when you review your matches.
Yep, that's my favorite game. What would have happened if? Thank you. All right, Tim.
This is just a fun one to watch. So the preface is, I came to the field and I got sat down to get ready, and my cleats were in my bag, and he's like, uh-oh. And luckily I found some cleats. But you can see this happened 4 times in the game. This is caught on video.
Whose cleats did you borrow?
David Picchetti's cleats.
They
fit, but the laces were quite long, and the 8-man saved me there from a big embarrassment. It happened a number of times in the game, not on camera though.
Blooper reel. All right. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Olivia. Any last words? Or are you good?
I'm good.
Okay. Marty, you're up.
Yeah, thanks all. Super gorgeous day out in Minnesota. Got to escape the northeast wind and rain that we've had the past couple of days, so it was great to see some sunshine. Had a lot of scrum practice, which was awesome, as we see the 30 scrums throughout the match. Yeah, so that was exciting. Yeah, and New York got 41 points, which helped them get 3rd place in the season. So I think that's all that I have to say. The first clip is a scrum clip, and I think I could give a little more explanation on that. But before we get there, if Roz has anything to say, please.
No, I'll jump in. I'll just let you go for it, and then jump in if I feel there's something to add.
Cool. Yeah, so we're in the about 15 minutes into the second half here. It's a scrum clip. It's one of the longer clip. I think there's about 1:30 here in this clip. I see a little instability. There's a reset. I walk to the other side, and it's one of these things that if you have a trigger whistle or something, I'd love to hear thoughts on how to apply it. Or yeah, so let's just hop into it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I could chat, or if anybody has thoughts, but I walked to the other side because the instability started on that other side, or the side closer to the touchline there. And then I was so focused on that side, I just completely forgot about the other 14 people in the scrum, I guess. So.
It might be
Marty,
helpful.
this is Mike.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Ross. You
No, I was gonna say it might be just helpful to know there were a lot of scrums and it was really uneven. You know, one team would do well, and then overall, I think the Zons couldn't really keep it tight and oppose. And Marty did a great job giving instructions at different times, but then it just something else different kept happening. So I just thought that might be good to have some context.
Okay. Mike, what did you have to say?
I was just going to ask if when you went to the weak side, Marty, or just Marty, if you went to the weak side, did you speak to anybody or did you just go that side to look for something?
At this particular one, I just walked over there to look for something. Didn't really have anything in mind other to try to gain a different vantage point.
Perfect. Yeah. For me, what's helped is that when I go to the other side, I'll just pick something that I want them to achieve better to a certain player, kind of like shoot somebody. And coaches can disagree with me if I'm doing this wrong, but I'll just pick someone to say, you need to improve this. And then I know that if they do improve this, it's the other person's fault. It just helps me with who's causing the problem, because I give someone something to work on. The reason why you go to the other side is you're looking for a change in result. But if you just go to the other side, you haven't really instigated anything to the players besides you changing vantage points.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great insight. Thank you, Mike.
Very nice, Mike. Thank you.
Marty, I also think when you leave that side, you can tell that the side that you're on, hey, you're doing a really good job. This other side is having problems, so I'm going to go over there, which then puts a little bit of onus on them to behave.
Or it tells them that they got license to cheat.
I guess it depends on what role you're playing.
I have a question, Marty. This is Jenny. Did you have an AR that you trusted or that you've worked with before?
I had at scrum
on
time,
that
I was confident in my own decisions. I'm going to put it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Fair.
And I will say the next scrum, like when this one that went down, then he did give them very clear instructions. And what I liked about it wasn't just a blanket instruction for the whole set of front rows. He gave each team a different thing that they needed to do. So it was specific because he had observed something, but that one just sort of slipped through there.
Okay.
And with 30 scrums in the match, it's one of those ongoing conversations where we have to referee every scrum. So yeah, so cool. This is a different scrum. I know it's the identical spot on the pitch, but it's about 5 to 6 minutes beforehand. It's a Amazon scrum. They're down 30 points. We see, if we just let it play out, I'll open this up to conversation, but I have thoughts after. So I clipped that wrong. Okay.
Go to the video.
Yeah, cool. So there's 2 clips of the same thing.
You know what time it was?
Like 65.
Just this is Tim. Just on that last clip, do we want to make the mark at the back of the scrum, or do we want to reset the mark? Because in that one, Marty had the mark there, and it's like you're almost kind of pushing the other team back, or do you just want to go, marks at the back of the scrum kind of thing? What's the standard? Just so I know.
Yeah, and part of that's this whole conversation where I believe that we're under the mark is from the middle of the scrum, right? And then you can take that anywhere from that to your own try line, and tried to help out the Zons, give them a little benefit of the doubt by playing it at my toes. But then the Zons scrum half knocks it on in taking the quick tap. So if I just reset it and told them to take the quick tap correctly, we probably would have avoided all of that conversation. But giving them that half a yard, 2 yards is, yeah.
Oh, I totally get it.
Cool. Yeah, I think this is the clip I was supposed to add to the meeting. Yeah. So I'm under the impression where I should have just told them that we need to take the mark correctly. And so if anybody has any other thoughts here, I'm all ears.
And Marty, this is Tim. I think in this case, empathy, right? I mean, 29-0. I'm sure you feel in this game that, you're trying to give the Zons an opportunity to play. So if you can think of it that quickly, right? You could, oh, I messed up. This is my fault. I'm going to take it back here. Something you can think about.
She should have taken it right pretty much from where she picked it up in the first place.
Yeah, I thought you were sort of like pointing over there.
Yeah.
And then when she runs to you, you could have very easily said wrong spot. Take it correctly at the right spot, please.
She's taken it 3 meters in front of where she should have, and 3 or 4 meters infield. I don't have a lot of empathy for the knock on.
I was gonna say the same thing. Like, if you really want to be nice, I think your process is correct, but it's the end of the season. The Amazons absolutely know where to take a penalty kick. I don't feel very bad for giving a turnover scrum in this situation.
I want to say the way Lindsay just articulated that, I consider that a form of empathy because you're respecting the player and their choices and their decisions. So I really like how you said that, Lindsay.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks all. I think Rouse also has a clip too.
Yeah, and I will add one more thing that last time Marty ref the Amazons, they kind of didn't stay in the game. So one of his goals going in was really to keep them in. So, I totally agree with what you're saying, Lindsay, about they don't know where to take the mark. But I also agree with Tim's comment, a little bit of empathy, like, oh, let's just bring it back. I don't think you'd lose too much credibility, but like Tim said, you'd have to think of that quickly. So I think, what do you do when someone's down? How do you keep them in the game, keep them participating? I think that's always tricky.
It's a good conversation to have for sure. Rosalind, your clip?
Yeah, I clipped this because I liked it, and it's interesting. With the overhead view, it's a great view of Marty working it. That's it. It was just a nice word clip. There's no way he would put that in himself, so I had to do it.
We don't get enough of the hurrah clips, so that's nice to see. Thank you. All right.
Definitely pros and cons to having the drone footage, but that was.
Is this a drone view?
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the stance on drones for games coming out? Because it's more of a thing.
Honestly, from a coding standpoint, it was a little difficult.
I agree. It's not a drone game for a D1A preseason game.
There's actually a policy that a USA Rugby policy that they have to be at least 100 feet above the field, and no one is meeting that metric. So theoretically, or no, not theoretically, technically they are not allowed, because if they're not at least 100 feet above the field, it's against USA Rugby policy. Not to be a downer, but that's the fact.
It's really difficult, I think, to review a game with it.
It's a different angle. You're not used to seeing things at that angle. You can't like
you should try it from a drone that simply hovers over one goal line.
100 feet above the goal line.
Well, it's not 100 feet above the goal line, but it stays at the goal line, plays at the other end. All you're doing is watching ants run around.
Yep. Anything else, Marty or Rosalind, or that we're good?
Thanks all. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, miscellaneous stuff. There's no games this weekend. And then the following weekend we will have the semifinals. And I just need to know from you all, do you want to have a call after the semifinals? We don't have to. The semis can just be reviewed by the coaches, and then Jenny's going to do the final, so that information will feed to Jenny. But if we all want to be a part of it, then we can have a call and all be part of it. But I didn't want to force that on everybody because I know there's many, many other leagues happening right now. So do we just want to drop in the chat a yes or a no, and we'll do what the majority wants on the count of 3? 1, 2, 3. All right. We'll do it. That's the answer I hoped for, but I wasn't going to force it on anybody. And the moment we've all been waiting for, our semifinals will be refereed by Tim Liu, who will go to Colorado, and Mike Lawrenson, who will go to Berkeley. So congratulations to those 2 team members, and we look forward to picking you apart after your match. All right, I'm going to stop recording now. Let's see. Maybe. There we go.